November 9th, 1989. A government official walks onto a stage in East Berlin, flips through his notes, and makes a mistake. A single sentence confuses an entire nation. And within hours, a wall that divided the world for nearly 30 years collapses. This is the story of the night the Berlin Wall fell and how it helped end the Cold War. To understand why this moment mattered, we need to go back to the end of World War II. Germany was defeated and divided. The western half, controlled by the United States, Britain, and France, became West Germany. The eastern half, controlled by the Soviet Union, became East Germany. Even the capital, Berlin, was split in two. On one side, freedom, capitalism, opportunity. On the other, communism, surveillance, and control. Between 1949 and 1961, over 3 million East Germans fled to the West. The Soviet-backed government had a problem. So in 1961, they built a wall. The Berlin Wall wasn't just a barrier, it was a prison. Guard towers, landmines, shoot-to-kill orders. Families were split overnight. Friends, separated for decades. Some risked everything to escape. Over 5,000 people made it across. But many didn't survive. The wall became the ultimate symbol of the Cold War, a world divided between two ideologies. For decades, the world lived under the threat of nuclear war. The United States and the Soviet Union stood on opposite sides, each armed with enough weapons to destroy the planet. But by the 1980s, something began to change. Enter Mikhail Gorbachev. He introduced two radical ideas: glasnost, openness, perestroika, restructuring. He wanted to reform the Soviet system. But those reforms had unintended consequences. Across Eastern Europe, people began demanding freedom. In East Germany, protests exploded. Thousands, then hundreds of thousands, filled the streets. They weren't asking for small changes anymore. They wanted freedom. Then came a breakthrough. Hungary opened its border with Austria. East Germans found a new escape route, and thousands fled. The government was losing control. Then came the moment no one expected. A government spokesman, Günter Schabowski, held a press conference. He was supposed to announce new travel rules, but he hadn't fully read the briefing. A journalist asked, "When do these changes take effect?" Schabowski hesitated, then said, "As far as I know, effective immediately." The news spread instantly. East Berliners rushed to the border. Thousands gathered, demanding to cross. But the guards had no orders, no instructions, just chaos. Then finally, they opened the gates. For the first time in nearly 30 years, East and West Berliners embraced. Strangers cried together. Families reunited. The wall was no longer a barrier. Within hours, the world watched in disbelief. People brought hammers and chisels and began tearing the wall down, piece by piece. This wasn't just the fall of a wall, it was the collapse of an entire system. Less than a year later, Germany reunified. And by 1991, the Soviet Union itself collapsed. The Cold War was over. A conflict that had defined nearly half a century ended not with nuclear war, but with a mistake and the will of the people. Today, pieces of the Berlin Wall still stand as a reminder of a divided past and of the night when everything changed. Because sometimes, history doesn't end with a bang, but with a single sentence. If you want more stories like this, subscribe and hit the bell.